Hey everyone, welcome back. We're thrilled you're here. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Now, let's dive into today's story. As the sun slumped beyond the horizon, spilling the last of its golden hues over the cobblestone streets, the medieval town of Elderglen began its nightly transformation. The bustling marketplace, once vibrant with the chatter of merchants and the clatter of hooves, surrendered to an eerie stillness as the shadows stretched and deepened. It was in this dimming twilight that a lone figure emerged from the recesses of an alley, his silhouette a ghostly whisper against the fading light. Marion, with threadbare garments clinging to his gaunt frame, had long learned the art of blending into the night. The cloak he wore, a patchwork of old wool and fraying edges, was his armor against the chill that seeped into the bones of those who dared roam the streets after dark. Tonight, like countless nights before, he prepared to navigate the delicate dance of survival. The town, though small and seemingly quaint, held within its heart a labyrinth of narrow lanes and hidden alcoves. Each corner, each turn, was a chapter in an unwritten story, and for Marion, each was a potential refuge or a hidden danger. The beggars of Elderglen were unwelcome phantoms, tolerated by day, hunted by night. The town guards, with their rusted chainmail and the dull gleam of authority, prowled the streets with a vigilance born of suspicion and disdain. Marion's first task was to scrounge for remnants left behind by the day's commerce. The marketplace, now a silent monument to the day's endeavors, was a tapestry of smells: stale bread, overripe fruit, and the lingering musk of livestock. He moved quietly, feet whispering against the stones, eyes scanning for overlooked treasures. A bruised apple here, a crust of bread there. Each find was a tiny victory in the ongoing battle against hunger. As he bent to retrieve a discarded turnip, a sudden clatter echoed through the square. Marion froze, heart thundering in his chest, eyes darting toward the sound. A cat, sleek and shadowy, darted from beneath a stall, a rat clutched between its teeth. Marion exhaled, the tension easing from his muscles. Yet, the brief scare served as a reminder of the ever-present danger of discovery. With his meager bounty tucked safely within the folds of his cloak, Marion retreated into the night. The alleyways of Elderglen were familiar terrain, yet they held secrets within their shadows, secrets that could befriend or betray. The scent of wood smoke curled through the air, mingling with the fog that crept in from the river, and somewhere in the distance, the mournful wail of a wolf pierced the silence, a haunting anthem to the moonlit world. Marion's steps led him to the ruined chapel at the edge of town, a relic of stone and ivy that time had claimed as its own. Here, the beggars of Elderglen gathered, drawn together by the common thread of misfortune. As he approached, he heard the soft murmur of voices, the gentle rise and fall of conversation that was both balm and burden. These were his people, bound not by blood but by circumstance. Within the crumbling walls, a fire flickered, casting a warm glow on the weary faces gathered around it. Marion settled beside an old man named Ulrich, whose beard was as wild and tangled as the tales he told. The stories of Ulrich, spun from memory and imagination, were the heartbeats of the beggar's nights, weaving a tapestry of past glories and present woes. Tonight, Ulrich spoke of the ghostly hunt that roamed the forests beyond Elderglen, a spectral procession led by a horned rider on a midnight steed. His voice, rough as gravel yet soothing as a lullaby, painted images of ethereal hounds with eyes like embers, their howls a symphony of longing and loss. As the tale unfolded, Marion felt the world around him blur, the boundaries of reality and legend dissolving in the glow of the fire. But even stories, like the fire, must eventually wane, and as the embers dimmed, so too did the conversation. The beggars settled into the silence, their thoughts their own, the weight of the night settling upon them like a familiar cloak. Yet, for Marian, the night was far from over. The chapel, though a sanctuary, was no haven from the pressing needs of the body. He rose, leaving behind the warmth of the fire, and ventured into the night once more. The air was crisp, the stars a glimmering canopy above, and Marian felt the pull of the river, where the water whispered secrets to the stones. He made his way to the banks, where the moonlight danced upon the ripples, casting silvered shadows that played upon the reeds. The river was a lifeline, a source of sustenance and solace. Marian knelt by its edge, cupping his hands to drink the cool, clear water. It was here, away from the watchful eyes of the town, that he could momentarily shed the weight of his existence, allowing the gentle flow of the river to carry away his burdens. Yet, even in this moment of peace, the undercurrent of danger remained. The night was alive with unseen presences, and Marian's senses, honed by necessity, tingled with awareness. He knew that he was not alone, that others, like him, sought refuge in the shadows. It was a dance of proximity and distance, each beggar respecting the fragile boundaries that allowed them to coexist in this shared solitude. As the night deepened, Marian prepared to return to the chapel. The walk back was a familiar journey, the path etched into his memory by countless nights of repetition. Yet, as he turned from the river, a rustle in the underbrush caught his attention. He paused, listening intently, his breath a quiet rhythm in the darkness. From the shadows emerged a young girl, her eyes wide and bright with fear and defiance. She was a newcomer, her face unfamiliar, but her plight all too recognizable. Marian approached slowly, adopting the guise of a gentle spirit, his voice soft as he spoke words of assurance. The girl, hesitant at first, allowed herself to be led back to the chapel, where the warmth of the fire and the camaraderie of the group would offer some measure of comfort. As the night wore on, the beggars of Elderglen drifted into uneasy slumber, their dreams stitched together from fragments of hope and despair. Marian lay among them, the weight of the day settling upon him like a shroud. Yet, as sleep claimed him, he felt a flicker of determination, a resolve to face whatever the next night might bring. For in the shadows of Elderglen, beneath the cloak of night, the beggars forged a fragile existence, their lives a testament to resilience and tenacity. And as Marian drifted into the embrace of dreams, the stars above whispered promises of dawn, when the cycle would begin anew, and the dance of survival would continue. The night air in Elderglen was thick with a chill that seeped into bones, a silent reminder of the world's indifference to those who wandered its edges. The moon hung high, a pale sentinel casting silvered beams that painted the cobblestones with ghostly light. Beneath its watchful eye, the beggars of Elderglen huddled closer, their bodies forming a mosaic of humanity bound by necessity. Marian's sleep was restless, punctuated by the subtle symphony of the night, rustling leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, the soft murmur of the wind weaving through the narrow alleyways. His dreams were a tapestry of fleeting images, faces long forgotten, places never visited, and a life that might have been. Yet, amidst the ephemeral visions, one thread remained constant, the unyielding desire to survive. As dawn's pale fingers brushed the horizon, the beggars stirred, their bodies unfurling like petals in the tentative light. Marian awoke with a start, the remnants of sleep clinging to him like mist. The chapel, now a sanctuary turned to a waking world, buzzed quietly with the muted hum of morning rituals. The fire, reduced to glowing embers, still offered warmth, a beacon of hope in the otherwise cold reality. The girl from the night before. Her name, he learned, was Alara, sat by the remnants of the hearth, her face a study in quiet determination. She had been lost, a traveler on a journey not of her choosing, and Elderglen had become both her refuge and her cage. Marion watched her with a sense of kinship, recognizing in her eyes the same flicker of defiance that burned within him. "Did you sleep well?" Marion asked, his voice barely rising above a whisper. Alara turned her gaze towards him, a soft smile playing at the corners of her lips. "As well as one can, in a place such as this." There was a shared understanding between them, an unspoken bond forged in the crucible of hardship. They spoke of small things, of dreams and shadows, of whispered hopes and vanished days. In the quiet of the morning, their words became a refuge, a momentary escape from the starkness of their reality. But the world beyond the chapel walls was awakening, and with it came the pressing need to face the challenges of the day. Marion rose, stretching the stiffness from his limbs, and prepared to re-enter the world that often viewed their kind with disdain. The town guard would soon begin their rounds, their eyes sharp for any sign of transgression. It was a dance Marion knew well, each step a calculated move in a game of survival. He glanced at Alara, her slight frame already moving with a practiced grace. Together, they would navigate the day, seeking the means to sustain themselves until nightfall once more wrapped them in its cloak. The marketplace beckoned, a chaotic symphony of voices and colors, where the scent of freshly baked bread mingled with the tang of salt and the sweet allure of ripe fruit. It was here that Marion and Alara, like so many others, would ply their trade. The art of begging was one of subtlety and skill. It required an understanding of human nature, an ability to read the nuances of expression and demeanor. Marion had long since learned to fashion his words into a delicate tapestry, each plea woven with sincerity and humility. It was a dance of its own, one that required a deftness of touch and a heart that could withstand the weight of rejection. As they moved through the throng, Marion's keen eyes scanned the faces of passers-by, seeking those who might offer a coin or a crust of bread. Alara, with her youth and vulnerability, often drew the sympathy of those who might otherwise turn away. Together, they formed a formidable team, their efforts yielding small victories, a copper here, a morsel there. Yet amid the bustling market, a darker undercurrent flowed, whispers of unrest, of discontent simmering beneath the surface, reached Marion's ears. The town was restless, the tension palpable, and the beggars were often the first to feel the ripple effects of such discord. Marion's instincts, honed by years of experience, warned him to tread carefully. As the sun climbed higher, casting its golden glow over Elderglen, Marion and Alara retreated to a quieter corner of the town. They shared their meager spoils, grateful for the sustenance, however humble. But there was an unease that lingered, a sense that the fragile peace of their existence could be shattered at any moment. Alara, her eyes thoughtful, spoke of the future, a future that seemed both distant and uncertain. "Do you ever think of what lies beyond this life, Marion? Of what might await us, if we could but change our stars?" Her words hung in the air, a question without an easy answer. Marion considered them, feeling the weight of dreams that had once seemed possible but now lay buried beneath the daily struggle for survival. "Perhaps," he replied, his voice tinged with the wisdom of experience. "But for now, we must focus on the day at hand, on finding the means to endure." Alara nodded, understanding the truth in his words. Their existence was a delicate balance, a constant negotiation with fate. Yet even in the face of adversity, there was a resilience that bound them, a shared determination to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the afternoon sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the town. Marian and Alara prepared to return to the chapel. The day had yielded its share of trials and triumphs, and now the embrace of night awaited, with its own set of perils and promises. The streets of Elderglen, once bustling with life, now took on a quieter, more subdued tone. The clatter of hooves on cobblestones, the distant laughter of revelers, all became part of the tapestry of the evening. Marian and Alara walked in unison, their footsteps a steady rhythm against the backdrop of the town's heartbeat. As they approached the chapel, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The night held its secrets, its hidden dangers and unexpected encounters. But it was also a time of camaraderie, of shared stories and whispered dreams. For in the shadows of Elderglen, beneath the cloak of night, the beggars found solace in one another, their lives a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. And as the stars emerged, one by one, to dot the velvet sky, Marian felt a renewed sense of purpose. The dance of survival continued, each step a testament to resilience and hope. For in the heart of darkness, there was light, a promise of dawn, and the knowledge that they would face whatever came with courage and grace. The chapel loomed ahead, an ancient structure nestled within the heart of Elderglen, its worn stones whispering tales of centuries past. By day, it served as a refuge of faith, but by night, it offered a different kind of sanctuary. Here, those who walked the fringes of society found a place to gather, to share their burdens under a roof that neither judged nor turned away. Marian and Alara paused at the threshold, the heavy wooden door creaking in quiet protest as they pushed it open. The dim interior was lit by the flickering glow of a few scattered candles, their flames dancing like restless spirits in the drafty air. The scent of wax and aged wood mingled with the faint aroma of incense, a lingering reminder of the day's prayers. Inside, a small congregation of souls had already gathered, faces etched with the lines of hardship and endurance turned towards the newcomers, greeting them with nods and murmurs of welcome. Each person bore their own story, their own share of struggles, yet in this sacred space, they were united by a common thread of survival. Marian and Alara found a spot among the others, settling onto the cool stone floor. The chill seeped through the thin fabric of their clothing, but the warmth of companionship soon chased it away. They listened as the conversations ebbed and flowed around them, each tale a fragment of a larger narrative that wove through the lives of Elderglen's night dwellers. There was old Tom, his voice a gravelly whisper as he recounted his latest run-in with the town guards. His eyes, clouded by age but still sharp with defiance, sparkled as he described his narrow escape, disappearing into the maze of alleyways that crisscrossed the town like veins. His story was met with chuckles and shaking heads, a shared understanding of the cat and mouse games played nightly. Beside Tom sat Agnes, her hands busy with the mending of a tattered cloak. Her fingers moved deftly, weaving needle and thread through the fabric with practiced ease. As she worked, she spoke of her children, her voice a soothing lullaby of hopes and dreams. In the pauses between her words, Marian could almost hear the echoes of a lullaby she herself once sang, long before the world had changed. As the night deepened, the chapel became a haven of stories, some whispered, others declared with bravado. Tales of lost fortunes and faded glories intermingled with dreams of better days. It was a tapestry of human experience, each thread a testament to the indomitable spirit that thrived even in the harshest of circumstances. But amidst the camaraderie, there lingered a sense of unease, a tension that crackled beneath the surface like distant thunder. The town guards were known for their unpredictability, their presence a constant shadow over the lives of those who walked the night. A single misstep, a moment of carelessness, could mean the difference between freedom and the confines of a cell. Marion felt the weight of this knowledge as she listened to the stories, her mind drifting to the encounters she herself had narrowly avoided. The memory of a guard's rough grip on her arm, the threat in his voice as he demanded to know her business in the town at such an hour. She had managed to slip away, her feet fleet and sure, but the fear lingered, a reminder of the precariousness of their existence. And yet, beneath the fear, there was a flicker of defiance. A determination to carve out a place for herself in a world that seemed intent on denying her one. It was a sentiment shared by all who gathered here, a silent vow to persevere against the odds. As the night wore on, the conversations quieted, giving way to a contemplative hush. The candles burned lower, their light casting elongated shadows that danced across the stone walls. Marion leaned back against the cool surface, her eyes drifting to the stained glass window that adorned the chapel's eastern wall. By day, it would be a riot of color, sunlight streaming through to paint the interior in hues of red, blue, and gold. But now, beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, it was a darker tableau, the figures depicted in the glass cast in silhouette. Marion traced the outlines with her gaze, finding comfort in the familiar shapes. It was then that she noticed it, a flicker of movement in the periphery of her vision. She turned her head slightly, her senses sharpening as she scanned the room. There, near the far corner, a figure stood apart from the rest, shrouded in shadow. The stranger was tall, his presence commanding despite the dim light. His features were obscured, but there was an air of confidence about him, a self-assuredness that set him apart from the usual denizens of the chapel. Marion felt a prickle of curiosity, tempered by caution. Alara, sensing her friend's distraction, followed her gaze. She stiffened slightly, a subtle shift that spoke volumes. "Do you know him?" Marion whispered, keeping her voice low to avoid drawing attention. Alara shook her head, her eyes narrowing as she studied the stranger. "No," she replied, her voice equally hushed. "But there's something about him. I can't quite place it." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of footsteps, a measured, deliberate tread that echoed through the chapel. The stranger was moving, stepping into the circle of candlelight. As he did, the gathered crowd turned as one, their murmurs fading into an expectant silence. He was a man of indeterminate age, his hair a shock of silver that caught the candlelight. His eyes, a piercing blue, surveyed the assembly with a gaze that seemed to see beyond the surface. He wore a cloak of deep green, the fabric rich and well-crafted, a stark contrast to the threadbare garments of those around him. For a moment, he stood in silence, allowing the weight of his presence to settle over the room. Then, he spoke, his voice a resonant baritone that filled the chapel. "Good evening," he began, his tone polite yet commanding. "I am known as Aldrich, and I come with a proposal." A ripple of interest swept through the crowd, curiosity mingling with skepticism. Proposals were rare in their world, often fraught with hidden dangers or unforeseen consequences. Aldrich seemed to sense their wariness, for he continued without pause. "I seek the assistance of those who are willing to take a risk, who possess skills and courage. In return, I offer compensation that will grant you reprieve from the hardships of this life. The promise of respite, of something beyond the relentless struggle of survival, was a potent lure." Marion felt the weight of it, the tantalizing possibility of change. Yet she also knew the perils of such offers, the potential for treachery lurking beneath a veneer of generosity. The silence stretched, each person weighing the stranger's words, considering the implications. It was Tom who finally spoke, his voice rough but steady. "And what, exactly, would you have us do, Aldrich?" Aldrich's gaze settled on Tom, a flicker of respect in his eyes. I require a small band of individuals to undertake a task, a recovery, if you will. An item of great value has been misplaced, and its retrieval requires discretion and skill. The room was still, the weight of Aldrich's words hanging in the air. Marion exchanged a glance with Alara, unspoken questions passing between them. The promise of reward was tempting, but the risks were undeniable. Aldrich seemed to sense their hesitation, for he added, "I assure you, the task is well within your capabilities." "And the reward?" He paused, allowing the anticipation to build. "The reward will afford you a life of comfort, far from the shadows of Elderglen." The prospect was intoxicating, yet Marion felt a whisper of doubt, a reminder of the world they inhabited, a world where trust was a fragile commodity. Still, the promise of a different life, a life free from the constant burden of survival, was a siren's call, impossible to ignore. The flickering light of the torches cast long shadows across the walls of the dimly lit room, embracing each figure in an intimate dance of light and darkness. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that seemed to echo the rhythm of the hearts beating within the chamber. Marion's eyes lingered on Aldrich, searching for any sign of deceit hidden beneath his calm facade. His words lingered in the air, weaving a tapestry of hope and uncertainty that was difficult to unravel. Alara, with her keen instincts sharpened by years of navigating the treacherous streets, leaned closer to Marion. Her voice, a soft murmur barely audible above the crackling fire, carried a note of caution. "We must tread carefully, Marion. Promises of wealth often come with unseen chains." Marion nodded, her heart caught in a delicate balance between the yearning for escape and the instinctive pull of caution. Her eyes drifted to Tom, whose usual air of mischief was replaced by an uncharacteristic seriousness. His brow furrowed, as if weighing the invisible scales of risk and reward that Aldrich's proposal presented. Aldrich, sensing their internal deliberations, offered a reassuring smile, though it did little to dispel the shadows lurking at the edges of his intentions. "I understand your hesitations," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "But consider this: a chance to rewrite your destinies, to step beyond the confines that bind you." The allure of his words was undeniable, a melody that sang to the deepest desires of their hearts. Yet, beneath that melody lay an undercurrent of danger, a reminder of the world they inhabited, a world where promises could dissolve as quickly as the morning mist. The silence stretched, a fragile thread that bound them all in its tenuous grasp. It was Tom who finally broke it, his voice a low rumble that resonated with determination. "What must we do?" Aldrich's smile widened, revealing a flash of teeth that gleamed in the firelight. "There is an artifact, a relic of significant importance, lost amidst the ruins of the old abbey on the outskirts of Elderglen. It is said to hold secrets long forgotten, and its recovery is paramount." Marion's mind conjured images of the abbey, a place shrouded in mystery and whispered tales of spirits that lingered within its crumbling walls. It was a place that both beckoned and repelled, a relic of the past standing defiantly against the encroaching wilderness. Alara's skepticism was evident in her tone as she asked, "And what of the dangers?" "The abbey is not a place easily traversed." Aldrich's gaze softened, a hint of genuine understanding in his eyes. "I will not deceive you. The path is fraught with peril. But I have faith in your abilities. You have navigated the shadows of this world with skill and resilience." Marion felt a flicker of pride at his words, a reminder of the resourcefulness that had been forged in the crucible of survival. Yet, the prospect of entering the abbey, of confronting whatever lay within its ancient walls, sent a shiver down her spine. Aldrich continued, his voice a steady anchor amidst the swirling uncertainty. The relic must be retrieved by the night of the next full moon. After that, its location may be lost to us forever. The urgency in his tone ignited a spark of resolve within Marion. The path before them was fraught with danger, yet the promise of a new life beckoned, a siren's call that was impossible to ignore. She exchanged a glance with Alara and Tom, their silent agreement solidifying in the shared look. "We will do it," Marion said, her voice carrying a newfound determination. The words hung in the air, a binding promise that would set them on a path from which there was no turning back. Aldrich inclined his head, satisfaction evident in his expression. "Excellent. I will provide you with what you need, maps, supplies, anything required for the journey. Return to me with the relic, and your reward will be beyond your wildest dreams." With that, he rose, the firelight casting an elongated shadow that stretched across the floor, a silent testament to the journey that lay ahead. Marion watched him go, a myriad of emotions swirling within her. The thrill of adventure, the fear of the unknown, and the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this would be their chance to escape the shadows of Elderglen. As the door closed behind Aldrich, the room seemed to settle, the tension dissipating like a dissipating fog. Alara turned to Marion, her eyes alight with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "We have much to prepare." Tom, ever the optimist, grinned despite the gravity of their task. "Aye, and who knows? Perhaps this will be the adventure that changes everything." Marion's heart swelled with a blend of hope and determination. The path before them was uncertain, fraught with risks and challenges, yet it was a path that promised a future beyond the confines of their current existence. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead, their bonds strengthened by the shared dream of a brighter tomorrow. The night stretched out before them, a canvas waiting to be painted with the colors of their courage and resolve. As they set about their preparations, the air hummed with the promise of new beginnings, of a journey that would test their mettle and ultimately define their destinies. In the quiet hours before dawn, as the world slumbered beneath a blanket of stars, Marion allowed herself a moment of reflection. The road ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but for the first time in a long while, there was a glimmer of hope, a beacon that called them forward into the unknown. And so, with hearts full of determination and a newfound sense of purpose, they embarked on their quest, leaving behind the shadows of Elderglen and stepping into the vast tapestry of possibility that awaited them beyond the horizon. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, casting a gentle glow upon the cobblestone streets, Marion and her companions, Rowan, the cunning yet kind-hearted thief, and Elda, the wise woman with stories etched into every line of her face, set forth from Elderglen. The village had been both a cradle and a cage, its narrow alleys whispering secrets of survival, its walls echoing with the cries of the downtrodden. Now, the open road beckoned with its promise of freedom and the unknown. They traveled light, their possessions bundled into worn satchels slung over their shoulders. Each step seemed to echo with the rhythm of their resolve, a quiet defiance against the fate that had been thrust upon them. The path stretched before them like a winding ribbon, disappearing into the misty embrace of distant hills. It was a journey that would test the limits of their endurance, but also one that held the potential for transformation. The morning air was crisp, carrying with it the scent of dew-kissed grass and the distant laughter of a waking forest. Birds flitted about in the trees, their songs weaving a melody that seemed to urge the trio onward. Marion felt a lightness in her step, a buoyancy born of hope and the intoxicating thrill of possibility. As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, they encountered the first of many challenges. A river, swollen with recent rains, cut across their path, its waters rushing with a ferocity that mirrored their determination. Undeterred, Rowan scouted ahead, his nimble frame darting from rock to rock, searching for a safe crossing. The river's roar filled the air, but beneath it, Marion could hear the heartbeat of the earth, steady and reassuring. "Over here," Rowan called, his voice barely audible over the tumult, but carrying with it the certainty of one who had navigated countless perils. Elda and Marion followed, their trust in Rowan's instincts unwavering. With careful steps, they made their way across the slippery stones, the river tugging at their ankles as if testing their resolve. But together, they emerged on the opposite bank, breathless but triumphant. As they paused to catch their breath, Elda produced a small pouch from her satchel, its contents a mystery until she opened it to reveal a handful of dried herbs. "For strength," she said, her smile a balm against the weariness that threatened to settle upon them. She divided the herbs among them, and as they chewed, a warmth spread through Marion's limbs, invigorating her spirit. The day wore on, the sun's journey across the sky mirrored by their own progress along the road. They spoke little, each lost in their thoughts, yet bound by a shared purpose that transcended words. Occasionally, they would encounter travelers, merchants with their wares, pilgrims on a quest of faith, each offering a glimpse into lives that ran parallel to their own. It was in the late afternoon, as the sun began its descent, that they reached a crossroads. Here, the road diverged, one path leading toward the bustling heart of a nearby town, the other disappearing into the shadowed embrace of a dense forest. The choice lay before them, a fork in the road that symbolized the divergent paths of destiny. Marion turned to her companions, seeking their counsel. Rowan, ever the pragmatist, considered the town. "We could find supplies, perhaps news of what lies ahead," he suggested, his gaze lingering on the distant spires that pierced the sky. Elda, however, looked to the forest with eyes that saw beyond the veil of the present. "Sometimes the path less traveled holds the answers we seek," she mused, her voice a whisper that held the weight of ages. In the end, it was Marion who made the decision, guided by an intuition that felt as ancient as the earth beneath their feet. "The forest," she said, her voice strong and sure. "It calls to me, and perhaps within its depths, we will find what we seek." With the decision made, they turned their backs on the town and stepped into the cool embrace of the forest. The air within was different, thick with the scent of pine and earth, the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy to dance upon the forest floor. Here, the world was hushed, as if holding its breath in anticipation of their arrival. As they ventured deeper, the forest seemed to come alive around them, each rustle of leaves and snap of twigs a part of an ancient symphony. Time lost its meaning, the hours slipping by unnoticed as they followed a path that wound its way through the trees like a forgotten whisper. There was a magic here, a sense of wonder that filled Marion's heart and lifted the burden of uncertainty from her shoulders. It was nearing dusk when they stumbled upon a clearing, a serene oasis bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. In the center stood an ancient oak, its gnarled branches reaching skyward like the fingers of a benevolent giant. At its base, a natural spring bubbled forth, its waters clear and inviting. "Here," Elda said, her voice tinged with reverence. "This place is sacred. We shall rest here for the night." As they set about making camp, Marion felt a profound sense of peace settling over her. The challenges of the day seemed distant now, the hardships a testament to their resilience. As the first stars appeared in the twilight sky, she sat by the spring, her reflection mirrored in its surface. Here, in this moment, she felt connected to something greater, a tapestry woven of dreams and destiny. That night, as they lay beneath the canopy of stars, Marian listened to the symphony of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the call of a distant owl, the gentle murmur of the spring. It was a lullaby that cradled her in its embrace, whispering promises of a brighter tomorrow. In the quietude of the night, as the world held its breath, Marian dreamed. She dreamed of a future where the bonds of friendship and the courage of the heart could overcome any obstacle. She dreamed of a world transformed by the power of hope, and as the first light of a new day painted the sky in hues of dawn, she awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. For in the heart of the forest, beneath the ancient oak, she had discovered not only what it meant to survive but what it meant to truly live. Marian stretched beneath the sprawling canopy, feeling the cool earth beneath her fingertips and the whisper of morning dew on her skin. The dawn brought with it a sense of clarity, a gentle reminder that each day was a blank parchment upon which new stories could be inscribed. She rose quietly, careful not to disturb the others who still lay wrapped in the embrace of their dreams. The forest, bathed in the soft light of dawn, felt alive in a different way. The air was crisp and carried the scent of pine and damp earth, mingling with the distant aroma of wildflowers. Marian took a deep breath, feeling the coolness fill her lungs, and set off through the woods, her mind a tapestry of thoughts and possibilities. As she wandered, the forest seemed to whisper to her, each rustle and chirp a note in its endless melody. Her bare feet moved silently over the mossy ground, leaving no trace of her passing. Marian's thoughts drifted to the village she had left behind, the stone walls and narrow streets that had once been her home. The village had been a place of struggle and hardship, where the weight of poverty pressed down like an iron shroud. Yet, even in its shadows, there were moments of light, shared smiles, acts of kindness, fleeting glimpses of humanity's better nature. Lost in thought, she nearly missed the sound at first, a faint, distant cry, carried on the breeze. Marian paused, her heart quickening as she strained to listen. The sound came again, more insistent this time, pulling her from her reverie and setting her senses on edge. It was a cry for help, unmistakable in its urgency. Without hesitation, Marian turned toward the sound, her feet moving swiftly over the uneven ground. The forest seemed to close in around her, the trees becoming sentinels, their branches reaching like arms to guide her way. She moved with purpose, her mind racing with possibilities. Who could it be, and what danger awaited? As she neared the source of the cry, the forest opened into a small clearing, where a figure lay crumpled on the ground. It was a boy, no older than 10, his face pale and drawn with pain. Marian knelt beside him, her heart aching at the sight of his distress. His ankle was twisted at an odd angle, a makeshift trap of branches and vines holding him fast. "Easy now," Marian murmured, her voice soft and reassuring. "I've got you." With gentle hands, she worked to free him, her fingers deftly entangling the snare that had ensnared him. The boy watched her with wide, frightened eyes, his breath hitching with each movement. Marian spoke to him in low tones, her words weaving a spell of calm around them both. Once the trap was dismantled, she examined his injury, her touch careful and precise. The ankle was swollen and bruised, but there were no signs of a break. Marian tore a strip of fabric from her tunic, fashioning it into a makeshift bandage to support the injured limb. "There now," she said as she finished, her smile warm and reassuring. "You'll be all right, just need some rest and time to heal." The boy nodded, his expression a mixture of relief and gratitude. He introduced himself as Tomas, explaining in halting words how he had ventured into the forest in search of mushrooms, only to find himself ensnared by the cunning trap meant for small game. Marian helped him to his feet, supporting his weight as he tested his injured ankle. Despite the pain, Tomas managed a shaky smile, his eyes bright with the resilience of youth. Together, they began the journey back through the forest, Marion guiding him with steady hands and words of encouragement. As they walked, the forest seemed to transform around them, the sunlight filtering through the leaves in a dappled dance of light and shadow. Marion felt a kinship with the boy, a shared understanding of the precarious balance between vulnerability and strength. In his courage, she saw a reflection of her own journey, the path that had led her from the confines of the village to the heart of the forest, where the world unfolded in ways she had never imagined. When they reached the edge of the woods, the village lay before them, its familiar outline softened by the haze of morning light. Marion paused, her heart filled with a sense of bittersweet longing. She had left this place in search of something more, yet here, in the presence of a stranger, she found herself tethered to its essence, drawn back by the invisible threads of shared humanity. Tomas turned to her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said simply, the words carrying a weight beyond their simplicity. In them, Marion heard an echo of her own journey, a reminder that, even in a world fraught with challenges, the bonds we forge can light the way through the darkness. With a final nod, Tomas limped toward the village, his step more certain with each stride. Marion watched him go, her heart lifting with a sense of accomplishment and hope. She had found a purpose in this chance encounter, a reminder of the power of connection and the enduring spirit of kindness. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Marion turned back toward the forest, her heart a symphony of emotions. The day stretched before her, filled with the promise of new beginnings and the whisper of untold stories. She knew that the path she walked was fraught with uncertainty, but in the heart of the forest, beneath the ancient oak, she had discovered what it meant to truly live. With renewed resolve, she set off once more into the embrace of the trees, the forest welcoming her with open arms. The world was vast and filled with possibilities, each step a testament to the journey she had undertaken. And in the quietude of the forest, where the past met the present in a dance of light and shadow, Marion found solace in the knowledge that she was not alone. The world was a tapestry of dreams and destiny, and she was but a single thread, woven into its intricate design. The forest enveloped Marion in a lush embrace, the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy like shards of stained glass in a cathedral, casting intricate patterns upon the forest floor. Each step she took stirred a symphony of rustling leaves, their gentle whispers harmonizing with the distant murmur of a brook threading its way through the woods. The air was alive with the scent of earth and moss, a fragrant reminder of the life that thrived in this verdant sanctuary. Here, amid the towering giants of bark and leaf, Marion felt a profound connection to the world around her. Her thoughts drifted back to the encounter with the old beggar, his words resonating in her mind like echoes in a cavern. She had seen in his eyes a flicker of the same flame she carried within her, a yearning for something beyond the struggles of the flesh, a desire to grasp the intangible threads of fate and weave them into a tapestry of meaning. The forest, in its timeless wisdom, seemed to acknowledge her newfound understanding, its ancient roots whispering secrets of resilience and hope. As she walked deeper into the embrace of the trees, a sudden rustle in the underbrush pulled her from her reverie. Her heart skipped a beat, the sound a sharp reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. She paused, her senses alert, listening intently for any further sign of movement. But the forest remained still, its creatures hidden in the safety of their leafy domains. With a cautious breath, Marion continued on her path, her eyes scanning the undergrowth for any sign of threat. The forest, though a sanctuary, was also a place of mystery and unpredictability, and she knew that she must remain vigilant. Her mind, however, was not easily dissuaded from its musings, and as she walked, she pondered the life she had left behind. The village, with its familiar routines and the weight of expectation, seemed a distant memory, a faded painting in the gallery of her past. Her journey had begun as an escape, a flight from the constraints of a life that had felt suffocating in its predictability. But now, as she traversed the forest's winding paths, she realized that she was not simply fleeing from something, but also moving toward a new understanding of herself and the world. Each step she took was a brushstroke on the canvas of her existence, painting a picture of resilience and discovery. The sun climbed steadily in the sky, its golden rays casting long shadows that danced upon the forest floor. Marian's path meandered through thickets of wildflowers, their vibrant colors a celebration of life in all its forms. She paused to admire a cluster of bluebells, their delicate blossoms nodding gently in the breeze, and felt a surge of gratitude for the beauty that surrounded her. But even as she marveled at the wonders of the forest, a sense of unease lingered at the edges of her awareness. The world beyond the trees was fraught with danger, a truth she could not ignore. The memory of the beggar's warning echoed in her mind, a reminder that the night brought with it its own set of challenges. She would need to find shelter before the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world into the shadows of night. As the afternoon wore on, Marian's thoughts turned to the practicalities of her journey. She needed food and a place to rest, a refuge from the encroaching darkness. The forest, for all its beauty, offered little in the way of sustenance, and she knew she must venture beyond its borders to find what she needed. With a sense of determination, she altered her course, heading toward the distant sound of the brook she had heard earlier. Water would lead her to villages or settlements, places where she might find food and perhaps a warm heart. The forest thinned as she approached the brook, the trees giving way to a sunlit clearing. The water sparkled in the afternoon light, its gentle babble a soothing melody that calmed her racing thoughts. Marian knelt by the bank, cupping her hands to drink the cool, refreshing water. It was a moment of respite, a brief pause in her journey, and she savored it, feeling the life-giving liquid invigorate her weary limbs. As she rose, her gaze followed the brook's winding path, tracing its course through the landscape. It was a guide, a thread of silver that wove its way toward the promise of civilization. Marian followed its lead, her footsteps light upon the earth as she ventured once more into the unknown. The day wore on, the sun a blazing orb that dipped ever lower in the sky, casting the world in hues of amber and gold. Marian's journey was one of discovery, each step revealing new facets of the world she inhabited. She passed through fields of swaying grass, the heads of wheat nodding in the breeze like ancient sentinels. The landscape was a patchwork of colors and textures, a testament to the enduring spirit of the land and its people. As the sun kissed the horizon, painting the sky in a riot of colors, Marian's heart swelled with a sense of wonder. She had come far, both in distance and in understanding, and though the path ahead was uncertain, she felt a deep-seated faith in her ability to navigate its challenges. The world was a vast, uncharted expanse, filled with possibility and the promise of new beginnings. But even as she reveled in the beauty of the sunset, a chill settled upon the air, a reminder that night was fast approaching. The forest, once a sanctuary, would soon become a place of shadows and uncertainty, and Marian knew she must find shelter before darkness enveloped the land. Her journey led her to the edge of a small village, its thatched roofs and stone walls outlined against the evening sky. The village was a humble place, nestled in the embrace of the hills, and Marian felt a pang of longing for the warmth and safety it promised. Yet, she knew she was an outsider, a stranger in a world that often viewed newcomers with suspicion and fear. As she approached the village, the sounds of life reached her ears, the distant laughter of children, the lowing of cattle being herded into barns, the clatter of pots and pans as families prepared their evening meals. It was a symphony of domesticity, a reminder of the life she had left behind, and a beacon of hope in the gathering gloom. But even as she drew near, the shadows of the past and the specters of the unknown lingered at the periphery of her consciousness. The night was a realm of secrets and hidden dangers, a world where the line between reality and imagination blurred in the darkness. She would need to tread carefully, to navigate the complexities of this new environment with caution and cunning. With a deep breath, Marian stepped into the village, her heart a steady drumbeat of anticipation and determination. The world was a tapestry of light and shadow, and she was but a single thread, weaving her way through the intricate pattern of destiny. As the first stars began to twinkle in the indigo sky, Marian knew that her journey was only just beginning, a tale yet to be told in the annals of time. The village unfolded before Marian like a painting, each stroke of life and color revealing a story, a whisper of the past and a promise of the future. The cobblestones beneath her feet were cool and uneven, worn smooth by the passage of countless souls. The air was rich with the scent of roasted meats and freshly baked bread, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp earth and the faint, sweet perfume of night-blooming flowers. It was a sensory tapestry, each note woven with care and precision, singing of both comfort and survival. Marian moved with purpose, her eyes scanning the labyrinthine streets, the darkened alleys that beckoned with secrets untold. Her senses were heightened, attuned to every rustle of the wind, every flicker of candlelight that seeped through shuttered windows. She felt like an outsider in this world, a specter drifting through a realm of the living, yet there was an undeniable pull, a magnetic force that drew her deeper into the heart of the village. The familiar chatter of voices reached her ears, a chorus of laughter and conversation that resonated with warmth and camaraderie. Children played in the fading light, their silhouettes darting like shadows in the dying sun. Their carefree games and innocent joy were a stark contrast to the weight of the burden she bore, the constant struggle to survive in a world that offered little mercy to those on the fringes. As Marian wandered further, she became acutely aware of the watchful eyes that followed her every move. The villagers, though wrapped in the comfort of their own lives, were not blind to her presence. She could sense their curiosity, mingled with suspicion, a reminder of the tenuous line she walked between acceptance and rejection. Her heart quickened, not from fear, but from the knowledge that she needed to win their trust, to weave herself into the fabric of their society, even if only for a night. The village square opened up before her, a bustling hub of activity, even as twilight deepened into night. Stalls lined the edges, merchants hawking their wares with practiced zeal, their voices rising above the murmur of the crowd. Marian paused, taking in the scene, the vibrant colors and lively energy that pulsed through the throng. Here was the beating heart of the village, a place where stories were exchanged, alliances forged, and destinies altered. In the midst of the crowd, Marian spotted an old woman seated by a cart laden with trinkets and baubles, her wizened hands deftly weaving strands of thread into delicate patterns. There was something about her, a quiet strength that spoke of wisdom and experience, a reflection of lives lived and loves lost. Marian felt drawn to her, as though the old woman held the key to unlocking the mysteries of this place, an oracle in the guise of a simple merchant. With tentative steps, Marian approached, her voice a soft whisper as she greeted the woman. The old woman looked up, her eyes sharp and knowing, as if she could see through the layers of Marian's soul. "Evening, child," What brings you to our village at this hour? Marian hesitated, words tumbling over themselves in her mind, seeking coherence. I seek shelter for the night, and perhaps a few answers. The woman chuckled, a sound like rustling leaves, and gestured to the space beside her. Sit, then. The night is young, and stories are best shared under the cloak of darkness. Grateful for the invitation, Marian settled down, the weight of her journey lifting, if only for a moment. The old woman continued her weaving, her fingers dancing nimbly, a rhythmic motion that was both soothing and hypnotic. Tell me, child, the woman began, her voice a gentle murmur, what brings a young soul like yours to the edge of the world, where shadows linger and dreams take flight? Marian considered her words, the truth a tangled web within her mind. I seek understanding, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Of the world, of myself. I wish to unravel the threads of fate that bind me. The old woman nodded, her gaze distant, as if peering into another realm. Ah, the quest for understanding. It is a noble pursuit, but fraught with peril. The world is vast and full of secrets. Sometimes it is not the answers we find that change us, but the questions we dare to ask. Marian felt a shiver run through her, the truth of the woman's words resonating deep within her core. She had always been a seeker, a wanderer in search of meaning, even when the path was shrouded in uncertainty. As the night deepened, Marian and the old woman exchanged stories, their voices a tapestry of sound that wove through the darkness. Marian spoke of her travels, the places she had seen, the people she had met, each tale a thread in the rich fabric of her existence. The old woman listened with rapt attention, her own stories unfurling in response, a chronicle of love and loss, of triumph and despair. Time seemed to slip away, the stars above a silent witness to their exchange. The village around them grew quiet, the bustle of life fading into the gentle hum of the night. The air was cool and crisp, carrying with it the promise of dawn, a new beginning on the horizon. As their conversation waned, Marian felt a sense of peace settle over her, a balm to the wounds of her soul. She realized that, though the answers she sought remained elusive, the journey itself held a beauty and truth all its own. In the company of the old woman, she had found a kindred spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, there were those who could light the way. With a heartfelt farewell, Marian rose, her steps lighter, her heart a steady cadence of hope. The village lay before her, a tapestry of possibility, each thread a chance to weave a new story, a new destiny. As she made her way through the quiet streets, she felt the stirrings of something greater, a whisper of purpose that called to her from beyond the veil of night. In the stillness of the dawn, as the first light of day kissed the horizon, Marian knew that her journey was far from over. The world was a vast ocean of mystery and wonder, and she was but a solitary vessel, adrift on its currents. Yet, in that moment, she embraced the uncertainty, the thrill of the unknown, for she understood that it was the journey itself that held the key to her heart's deepest desires. And so, with a heart full of hope and a spirit unbowed, Marian continued on her path, a solitary thread in the grand tapestry of existence, forever seeking, forever dreaming, forever weaving her own story into the annals of time. As the rosy fingers of dawn stretched across the sky, painting it with hues of soft pink and gold, Marian felt the gentle embrace of a new day. The gentle hum of the awakening village filled the air, a symphony of soft clattering, the bleating of goats, and the distant call of roosters heralding the birth of morning. Each sound was a note in the melody of life that unfolded with each passing moment. Marian walked through the cobblestone streets, her bare feet whispering against the stones, her senses alive to the world around her. The air was crisp and carried the earthy scent of dew-kissed grass mingled with the faint aroma of bread baking in the village ovens. She felt a pang of hunger, but it was tempered by a sense of peace, a quiet assurance that today would be a day of new beginnings. The villagers began to emerge from their homes, their faces etched with lines of toil and laughter, their hands busy with the tasks that marked the rhythm of their days. Marian watched them with a sense of admiration. These people who lived by the cycles of the land, who found beauty in simplicity and strength in community. She paused at the edge of the marketplace, her eyes drawn to the vibrant tapestry of life unfolding before her. Merchants set up their stalls, their voices rising in a harmonious chorus as they hawked their wares: fresh produce, woven fabrics, handcrafted trinkets. The market was a place of gathering, a place where stories were exchanged, where connections were forged, and Marian felt herself drawn to its vibrant energy. Yet, as she stood there, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, a reminder of the world she had left behind. The beggars, her kin in spirit, huddled at the fringes of the marketplace, their eyes weary yet hopeful, their hands outstretched, seeking the kindness of passers-by. Marian's heart ached with the memory of her own nights spent in the shadows, the constant dance with survival in a world that often turned a blind eye. But she was not there to mourn. She was there to find her place, her purpose. Her gaze fell upon a woman selling herbs, her stall a riot of green and fragrant blooms. The woman's hands were deft, her movements graceful as she arranged her wares with care. Something about her drew Marian in, a sense of familiarity, a whisper of kindred spirit. "Good morning," Marian greeted, her voice soft yet steady. The woman looked up, her eyes meeting Marian's with a warmth that spoke of open-heartedness. "Good morning to you, my dear. You seem new to these parts." "I am," Marian admitted, a smile playing at her lips. "I've come seeking a place, a purpose." The woman nodded, a knowing gleam in her eyes. "Well, you've found a place of many stories. What is it you seek, if you don't mind my asking?" Marian hesitated, the words forming on her tongue, a tapestry of hopes and dreams. "I seek to learn, to grow. I've spent too long in the shadows, and now I wish to step into the light, to find a way to help others as I help myself." The woman considered her, a gentle smile curving her lips. "You speak like one who has known the shadows well. There is wisdom in your eyes, and a light in your heart. Perhaps you might find what you seek among the herbs. They have a way of healing not just the body, but the soul." Marian's heart quickened, the woman's words resonating with a deep truth she had yet to fully understand. "I would like that," she whispered, her voice carrying the weight of newfound hope. The woman beckoned her closer, her gestures a dance of welcome. "Come, let me show you the way of the herbs. There is much to learn, and the day is young." Marian stepped forward, her heart a symphony of excitement and trepidation. The stall was a garden in miniature, each plant a story waiting to be uncovered, each leaf a promise of healing. As the woman guided her through the myriad of scents and textures, Marian felt a sense of belonging unfurl within her, a quiet joy that whispered of home. Together, they worked side by side, the morning sun warming their backs as they prepared bundles of herbs, their fingers nimble and sure. The woman shared her knowledge freely, her voice a river of wisdom that flowed with the cadence of one who had walked the path of healing for many years. Marian listened, her mind a sponge soaking up the stories of each plant, the secrets of their healing powers. She learned of the calming properties of lavender, the invigorating touch of rosemary, the soothing balm of chamomile. The world of herbs was a realm of endless discovery, a tapestry of nature's wonders woven into the fabric of life. As they worked, a sense of camaraderie blossomed between them, unspoken yet profound. Marian felt the walls around her heart begin to crumble, the light of trust seeping in, illuminating the shadows of doubt and fear. She realized that she was not alone, that the world was filled with kindred spirits, each journeying toward their own light. The hours slipped by, the sun climbing higher in the sky, casting golden light upon the village. Marian felt a contentment she had not known in many moons, a sense of purpose that filled her soul with warmth. She was no longer adrift, no longer a solitary vessel lost in the vast ocean of existence. She was anchored, her roots beginning to sink into the fertile soil of possibility. Yet, as the day waned, a flicker of unease brushed against her senses, a whisper from the shadows of her past. The memory of danger, of the ever-watchful eyes of the town guards, lingered at the edge of her consciousness. The village was a place of safety, but beyond its borders lay the uncertainty of the world, the lurking threats that still shadowed her steps. Marian knew she could not ignore the reality of her past, nor the challenges that lay ahead. She understood that the journey was not yet over, that there were trials to be faced, truths to be uncovered. The path of healing, both for herself and for others, was a winding road fraught with shadows and light. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in a gentle twilight, Marian stood by the woman's side, her heart a tapestry of gratitude and determination. She had found a guide, a friend, a place to learn and grow. But she also knew that she must remain vigilant, that the shadows still whispered secrets she had yet to unveil. The woman placed a hand on her shoulder, her touch a benediction. "You have a gift, Marian, a light that shines brightly even in the darkest night. Trust in it, and you will find your way." Marian nodded, her heart swelling with resolve. She would trust in herself, in the light within her, and in the journey that lay ahead. For she understood that the tapestry of life was not woven in solitude, but in the bonds of shared stories, shared dreams, shared hopes. And so, as the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky, Marian stepped into the night, her spirit alight with possibility, her heart a symphony of hope. She was not alone. She was part of something greater, a solitary thread in the grand tapestry, forever seeking, forever dreaming, forever weaving her own story into the annals of time. The night enveloped Marian like a familiar cloak, its chill a reminder of the world that continued to spin despite the stasis of her own journey. The cobblestones beneath her feet were uneven, worn smooth by countless souls who had trodden them before her, each with their own tales of struggle and survival. The city was a living entity itself, breathing in the stories of those who walked its streets, the echoes of their lives imprinted upon its stones. As she moved through the narrow alleyways, the quiet murmur of nocturnal life surrounded her. The rustling of unseen creatures, the distant clatter of a shutter in the wind, the low hum of voices carried on the breeze from a nearby tavern. These were the sounds that painted the night for those who knew how to listen. Marian had learned to listen, to let the city speak to her in its secret language. Her path led her away from the bustling heart of the town, where the tavern lights flickered like distant stars and laughter mingled with the clinking of mugs. She found herself drawn toward the outskirts, where shadows deepened and the whispers of ancient tales seemed to linger in the air. Here, the labyrinthine streets twisted and turned, leading her to the edge of the city where the stone gave way to earth and grass. The night was alive with possibility, and yet it held its dangers. Marian knew well the perils of wandering too far from the safety of the city. The guards, with their watchful eyes and quick tempers, were just one threat. There were others, more insidious, that lurked in the darkness, preying on the vulnerable. She had heard stories of those who had disappeared into the night, never to return, swallowed whole by the shadows. Yet, Despite the fear that gnawed at the edges of her resolve, Marion pressed on. She was driven by a need she could not fully name, a desire to uncover the truth of her own story, to reclaim the threads of her identity that had been scattered by circumstance. The woman's words lingered in her mind, a balm to her uncertainty. Trust in the light within you. The moon hung low in the sky, a pale sentinel watching over her journey. Its light cast long shadows that danced across the ground, turning the world into a tapestry of light and dark. Marion embraced the shadows, for they were her allies as much as they were her adversaries. They offered concealment, a cloak of invisibility that allowed her to move unseen. She came to a halt at the edge of a small clearing, where the city's glow faded into the vastness of the night sky. Here, the air was different, tinged with the scent of earth and leaves, a sharp contrast to the smoke and sweat of the city. Marion breathed deeply, feeling the tension in her shoulders ease, if only for a moment. It was in this quiet space that she found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here, the twists of fate that had led her from the safety of her childhood home to the uncertain life of a beggar. Her memories were like fragments of a dream, vivid and yet elusive, slipping through her fingers when she tried to grasp them too tightly. She remembered the warmth of the hearth, the gentle murmur of her mother's voice as she spun tales of bravery and adventure. She remembered the laughter that filled their small home, the sense of belonging that wrapped around her like a favorite cloak. Those days felt distant now, like a lifetime ago, and yet they were part of her, woven into the fabric of her being. As she stood there, the stars winking down at her like old friends, Marion felt a sense of peace settle over her. She was not alone, not truly. The stories of those who had come before her, the tales of courage and resilience, were her companions on this journey. They whispered to her in the wind, in the rustle of leaves, in the quiet cadence of her own heartbeat. It was then that she heard it, a soft rustling, a sound that did not belong to the night. Marion's senses sharpened, her body tensing as she scanned the darkness for the source. Her instincts, honed by years of living on the streets, told her that she was not alone. There was someone, or something, watching her. Her heart quickened, the familiar thrill of adrenaline coursing through her veins. She remained still, listening, waiting, her mind racing with possibilities. The shadows around her seemed to deepen, pressing in on her, but she refused to give in to fear. Instead, she focused on the light within her, the flame of hope that burned brightly even in the darkest night. The rustling grew louder, closer, and Marion knew she had to act. With a deliberate slowness, she began to move, her footsteps silent on the grass as she retreated into the cover of the trees. She was a creature of the night, accustomed to its rhythms, and she trusted in her ability to navigate its dangers. As she slipped into the shadows, she caught a glimpse of movement, a figure, cloaked in darkness, emerging from the trees. Her heart leapt into her throat, but she forced herself to remain calm, to think. Whoever it was, they were not yet aware of her presence. She had the advantage, and she intended to use it. Marion circled around, keeping to the cover of the trees, her eyes fixed on the stranger. Her mind raced, assessing the situation, weighing her options. She had no weapon, no means of defense beyond her wits and her agility. But she had learned long ago that sometimes those were enough. The figure paused, as if sensing her presence, and Marion held her breath, willing herself to remain unseen. Her heart pounded in her chest, a wild drumbeat that threatened to give her away. She knew she had to act, to seize the moment before it slipped away. With a swift, silent movement, she slipped from the shadows, her footsteps light as she approached the figure from behind. She was a ghost, a whisper in the night, and she moved with a confidence born of necessity. As she drew closer, she could see the outline of a man, his posture tense, his head turning as if searching for something, or someone. Marian hesitated, her mind racing. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But she trusted in the light within her, in the courage that had brought her this far. She stepped forward, her voice barely more than a whisper as she spoke. "Who are you?" she asked, her words carried on the wind, a challenge and a plea all at once. The man turned, his eyes finding hers in the darkness. There was a moment of silence, a pause in the world around them, as if the very night were holding its breath. And then he spoke, his voice low and steady, a thread of sound that cut through the tension. "I am but a traveler," he said, his words laced with an accent she could not place. "Lost, perhaps, but not without purpose. And you, who walks the night with such confidence, who are you?" Marian studied him, her instincts telling her that he spoke the truth, or at least a version of it. There was something in his eyes, a flicker of recognition, as if he saw in her a kindred spirit, a fellow traveler on this uncertain road. "I am Marian," she replied, her voice steady, her resolve firm. "A seeker of truths, a weaver of stories. And it seems our paths have crossed for a reason." The man nodded, a slow, deliberate gesture that spoke of understanding. "Then let us walk together, if only for a while," he said. "For the night is long, and the journey is far, and perhaps we can find solace in each other's company." And so, side by side, they stepped into the night, two shadows moving through the darkness, bound by the stories they carried and the light they shared. The world around them was vast and unknown, but they were not afraid. They were travelers, seekers, dreamers, and the night was their realm, the stars their guide, the journey their destiny. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and distant fires. The moon hung low, casting a silvery glow upon the cobblestones, illuminating their path with a soft, ethereal light. Marian and her newfound companion walked in silence for a while, their footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The city around them seemed to breathe with a life of its own, whispering secrets of ages past and dreams yet to come. As they moved through the narrow alleys, the man spoke again, his voice a low murmur that mingled with the night air. "In times like these, stories are more than mere tales. They are lifelines, threads that connect us to the past, to each other, to something greater." Marian nodded, understanding the weight of his words. Stories were indeed powerful, capable of bridging gaps, of illuminating truths hidden in shadow. She wondered what stories he carried, what truths he sought, and how they might intertwine with her own. Their journey took them past the bustling taverns and the quietened market stalls, now deserted and ghostly in the moonlight. The town had fallen into a hush, the vibrant chaos of the day giving way to the solitude of night. Occasionally, the distant sound of laughter or a snatch of song floated through the air, reminders of life's persistence even in the face of hardship. Marian's thoughts drifted to her own story, a tapestry woven with threads of hope and struggle. She was a wanderer, a seeker, driven by a yearning to understand the world and her place within it. Her life had been a series of crossroads, each decision leading her further along the path of discovery, of revelation. The man beside her seemed to sense her introspection and spoke again, his tone gentle. "What is it that you seek, Marian? What truth do you hope to find?" She considered his question, the answer elusive yet tantalizingly close. "I seek understanding," she said finally, "of the world, of myself, of the stories that bind us all. There is a truth out there, a deeper meaning to it all, and I feel compelled to find it." He nodded, as if recognizing her quest as one akin to his own. Then perhaps we are not so different. You and I too seek understanding, though my path has been fraught with shadows and uncertainty." They continued on, their footsteps carrying them through the labyrinthine streets, the night enfolding them in its embrace. The city was a living entity, its heart beating in time with their own, its secrets whispering in the rustle of leaves, the sigh of the wind. As they walked, Marian could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. It was a sensation that prickled at the edges of her awareness, a sense of unseen eyes following their every move. She glanced around, searching the shadows for any sign of danger, but found only the familiar shapes of the city at night. Her companion seemed unperturbed, his gaze steady, his stride unbroken. Perhaps he too was accustomed to the ever-present vigilance of those who walked the night, those who lived on the fringes of society, forever watchful, forever wary. The streets began to narrow, the buildings closing in around them like the walls of a canyon. The air was thicker here, laden with the sense of humanity, of life lived on the edge. Marian's senses were heightened, her mind attuned to the rhythm of the city, the pulse of its inhabitants. They passed a group of beggars huddled in a doorway, their faces shadowed, their eyes glinting in the darkness. Marian felt a pang of recognition, a kinship with these souls who shared her fate, her struggle. She knew their stories, their hopes and dreams, for they were echoes of her own. The man paused, his gaze lingering on the group, a flicker of something unreadable passing across his features. Marian could sense the connection, the understanding that went beyond words. They were all part of the same tapestry, woven together by the threads of fate and circumstance. "Do you ever wonder," he asked softly, "why we are chosen to walk this path? Why some are given the burden of seeking while others remain content in their ignorance?" Marian considered his question, the weight of it pressing upon her. "Perhaps it is not a burden, but a gift," she replied. "The gift of sight, of knowledge, of the ability to see beyond the veil of the ordinary." He smiled, a fleeting expression that softened the lines of his face, revealing a glimpse of the man beneath the mystery. "A gift, yes, but one that comes with a price." They resumed their journey, the night deepening around them, the stars a tapestry of light overhead. Marian felt the pull of the unknown, the call of adventure, of discovery. It was a feeling she had known all her life, a driving force that pushed her onward, ever onward. Their path led them to the edge of the city, where the buildings gave way to open fields, the land stretching out before them like a vast, uncharted sea. The air was cooler here, the scent of wildflowers mingling with the earth, the sky a canvas of stars. Marian felt a sense of freedom, of liberation, as if the weight of the city had been lifted from her shoulders. She turned to her companion, sensing that he too felt the change, the shift in the air, in the energy around them. "Where do we go from here?" she asked, her voice carrying on the breeze, a whisper in the night. He looked out over the fields, his gaze distant, contemplative. "Wherever the road takes us," he replied, "for the journey is ours to make, and the destination is but a point on the horizon." Marian nodded, feeling the truth of his words resonate within her. The journey was indeed the thing, the adventure, the discovery, the endless possibilities that lay before them. As they stood together, side by side, two travelers bound by the stories they carried, the night stretched out before them, vast and unknown. They were seekers, dreamers, wanderers on the path of life, and the world was theirs to explore, to discover, to understand. And so they walked, their footsteps carrying them into the night, into the adventure that awaited, the story yet to be written, the truth yet to be found. The journey was theirs, and they embraced it with open hearts and open minds, ready to face whatever lay ahead together. The moon hung high in the velvet sky, a silent sentinel casting its soft, silvery glow over the world below. The fields were vast and whispering, their grasses swaying gently in the cool night breeze. Marian and her companion, Aelfric, moved with purpose and quiet determination, their footsteps a gentle rhythm in the stillness of the night. The path ahead was uncertain, yet it was this very uncertainty that beckoned to them, promising mysteries and revelations hidden beyond the horizon. The air was rich with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers, a fragrant reminder of the world's beauty even in its most humble corners. As they walked, their minds danced with thoughts of what lay ahead, of the tales yet to be told and the lessons yet to be learned. Aelfric, with his weathered face and eyes that held the wisdom of many years, was a steady presence beside Marian. He had seen much in his time, a tapestry of experiences woven with both hardship and triumph. His heart was a well of stories, each one a thread in the intricate fabric of his life. There was comfort in his presence, a quiet strength that emboldened Marian as they ventured into the unknown. As they walked through the countryside, the distant hoot of an owl echoed softly, a haunting lullaby that wrapped around them like a warm cloak. Shadows shifted and danced along the path, casting strange, ethereal shapes that seemed to tell their own stories. These were tales of the night, of secrets whispered in the dark, of dreams and fears that lay hidden in the folds of darkness. The village lay behind them, a cluster of thatched roofs and cobblestone streets now swallowed by the night. It was a place of both refuge and danger, a sanctuary for some and a stark reminder of life's harsh realities for others. But out here, in the open fields under the watchful eye of the moon, the world felt different, softer, and more forgiving. Yet, the life of a beggar was never truly free of peril. Even in the embrace of nature, there were challenges to be faced. The chill of the night seeped into their bones, a cold reminder of the fragility of their existence. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, a constant companion on their journey. And always, there was the specter of discovery, of being seen and judged by those who might not understand their wandering ways. Marian's thoughts were a whirl of hope and trepidation. She had chosen this path willingly, but the reality of it was a weight she bore with both pride and fear. She was learning the art of survival, the delicate balance of trust and caution. The night was her teacher, and she was an eager student, ready to learn its secrets. Aelfric glanced at her, a gentle smile playing on his lips. "The stars are bright tonight," he remarked, his voice a low rumble that blended with the night sounds. "They've been our guides for centuries, watching over travelers like us." Marian looked up, her eyes tracing the constellations that spanned the sky. She found comfort in their presence, these celestial companions on their journey. "Do you think they have stories to tell?" she wondered aloud, her voice filled with curiosity. Aelfric chuckled softly. "Oh, indeed. Every star has a tale, every constellation a legend. The heavens are a library, filled with the stories of those who came before us." He paused, his gaze thoughtful. "Perhaps, one day, our story will be among them." The thought filled Marian with a sense of awe and wonder. To be part of something so grand, so eternal, it was a dream she hadn't dared to dream. She felt a surge of determination, a resolve to make their journey one worth remembering. The path twisted and turned, leading them through fields and glades, over hills and streams. The landscape was a patchwork of shadows and moonlight, a living canvas that shifted with every step they took. The night was alive with the sounds of crickets and the rustle of leaves, a symphony of nature that soothed their weary souls. They came upon a small grove, a circle of ancient trees that stood sentinel against the night. The air was thick with the scent of pine and moss, a heady perfume that filled their senses. Here, they decided to rest, to gather their strength for the journey ahead. Aelfric gathered wood for a small fire, his movements sure and practiced. The flames sprang to life, casting a warm glow that chased away the shadows and bathed them in flickering light. Marion watched the fire, mesmerized by its dance, its crackle and pop, a comforting sound in the stillness. As they sat by the fire, sharing what little food they had, their conversation turned to stories of old, of heroes and legends, of battles fought and won. Aelfric spoke of knights and dragons, of kingdoms lost and reclaimed, his voice weaving a tapestry of adventure and bravery. Marion listened, her imagination soaring on the wings of his words. She could see the scenes he described, feel the thrill of the chase, the rush of the battle. It was a world far removed from her own, yet in some ways, so very similar. For she, too, was on a quest, a journey to discover herself and the world around her. The night wore on, the fire's glow a beacon in the darkness. The stars shone down upon them, silent witnesses to their tales and dreams. Marion felt a sense of peace, a connection to the world and to Aelfric, her fellow traveler on this journey of life. Yet, beneath her calm, there was a ripple of unease, a shadow that lingered at the edges of her awareness. It was the knowledge that their life was precarious, that danger lurked in unexpected places. She had heard stories of those who preyed on the vulnerable, who saw beggars as easy targets. It was a reality she couldn't ignore, a truth that colored her nights with caution. As if sensing her thoughts, Aelfric spoke, his voice gentle and reassuring. "Fear not, Marion. We are stronger than we seem, more resilient than we know. The night may hold its dangers, but it also holds its wonders. We must be wise, but we must also be brave." His words were a balm to her spirit, a reminder that she was not alone in this journey. Together, they would face whatever challenges came their way, drawing strength from each other and from the world around them. The fire burned low, its embers glowing softly in the night. Marion felt her eyes grow heavy, the pull of sleep a gentle tide she could no longer resist. She lay down beside the fire, the earth cool and comforting beneath her. Aelfric kept watch, his silhouette a dark shape against the starry sky. As she drifted into slumber, Marion's dreams were filled with images of their journey, of paths untraveled and stories untold. She dreamed of the stars and their secrets, of the night and its mysteries. And in her dreams, she found a sense of peace, a certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The night wrapped around them like a cloak, a cocoon of safety and warmth. The road stretched out before them, a ribbon of possibility winding through the darkness. It was a journey of discovery, of adventure, of life itself. And as the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, Marion knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with courage and hope, her heart open to the world and all its wonders. The dawn crept upon the world with the softest of touches, a gentle luminescence that began to peel away the shadows of the night. Marion stirred, the cool earth beneath her a familiar embrace. The fire's embers had dwindled to ash, a reminder of the night's passage. As the first birds began their morning chorus, she opened her eyes to the new day, a canvas painted with hues of pink and gold. Aelfric was already awake, his gaze turned towards the horizon, where the sun was slowly rising to claim the sky. The tranquility of the moment was palpable, a rare balm in the often harsh reality of their existence. Marion sat up, rubbing sleep from her eyes, and looked at Aelfric with a soft smile. "Morning comes like a promise," she said, her voice still tinged with the remnants of sleep. "Aye," Aelfric replied, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. "It's always a reminder that no matter what the night holds, the dawn brings a new beginning." Marion nodded, feeling the weight of his words. Their journey was a constant cycle of endings and beginnings, each day an uncharted land to traverse. As they gathered their scant belongings, the world around them slowly came to life. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of dew and earth. They set off down the road, their footsteps a quiet rhythm against the soft earth. The village they had left behind was now just a memory, a chapter closed as they moved toward the next. The path ahead was one they hadn't traveled before, winding through dense woods that whispered with secrets. The trees stood tall and ancient, their leaves a canopy that filtered the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. It was a place that felt both timeless and alive, a living tapestry of nature. As they walked, Marion found herself lost in thought, her mind wandering through the corridors of memory. She thought of her family, of the life she had left behind. It was a life of simplicity, of warmth and laughter, but also one of limitations, of roles defined by tradition and expectation. She had chosen this path, this uncertain journey, for the freedom it offered, for the chance to carve out her own destiny. But freedom came with its own burdens. The life of a beggar was harsh and unforgiving, a constant battle for survival. Yet, amid the struggle, there were moments of beauty, of connection, that made the journey worthwhile. The kindness of strangers, the camaraderie of fellow travelers, the quiet strength of the earth beneath her feet, these were the things that sustained her. As the morning wore on, the forest around them grew denser, the undergrowth a tangle of green and shadow. The path narrowed, winding its way through the trees like a ribbon of possibility. It was easy to become disoriented in such a place, where every turn looked much like the last. But Marion and Aelfric had learned to trust their instincts, to follow the subtle signs that the forest offered. It wasn't long before they came upon a small clearing, a patch of sunlight amid the trees. Here, the air was warmer, the ground soft with moss. They paused to rest, grateful for the respite. Marion sat down, her back against the trunk of a tree, and closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the sun wash over her. Aelfric settled nearby, his gaze drifting over the clearing, ever vigilant. It was here, in the quiet of the forest, that Marion felt the weight of their journey, the uncertainty of the road ahead. But she also felt a sense of purpose, a determination to see it through. Their rest was short-lived, a brief interlude before they continued on. The forest was a labyrinth of paths and possibilities, each turn a choice, each step a commitment to the journey. They moved with the confidence of those who had learned to listen to the land, to read its signs and heed its warnings. As the day wore on, the forest began to thin, the trees giving way to open fields. The sun was high in the sky now, its warmth a gentle caress on their skin. They came upon a small stream, its waters clear and cool, a lifeline in the midst of their travels. Here, they stopped to drink, to refill their meager supplies. The water was sweet, a balm for their thirst. Marion watched as the sunlight danced on the surface, a play of light and shadow that reminded her of the night, of the stars that had guided them. It was in moments like these that she found solace, a reminder of the beauty that existed even in the harshest of worlds. The stream was a connection to the earth, to the life that pulsed beneath its surface. It was a reminder of the resilience of nature, of its ability to endure and thrive. As they continued on, Marion felt a renewed sense of hope, a quiet certainty that they would find their way. The road was long and often treacherous, but it was also filled with possibility, with the promise of discovery. The afternoon sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the land. They walked in silence, their footsteps a steady rhythm against the earth. The air was cool now, a gentle breeze that carried the scent of distant fields and far-off places. Eventually, they came upon a village, its rooftops visible in the distance, a cluster of humanity in the midst of the vast countryside. It was a place like many others they had passed through, a collection of lives intertwined, each with its own story. As they approached, Marion felt a familiar mix of anticipation and trepidation. The village represented both opportunity and risk, a chance to find sustenance but also the possibility of rejection, of danger. They entered the village with the setting sun, its golden light casting a warm glow over the cobblestone streets. The air was filled with the sounds of evening, of families gathering for supper, of children playing in the fading light. Marion and Aelfric moved through the village with purpose, their eyes scanning the faces of those they passed. They were looking for signs of kindness, for the small gestures that spoke of compassion and generosity. As they reached the village square, they paused, taking in the scene before them. It was a place of gathering, of connection, where the villagers came together to share their lives. It was here that Marion felt a sense of belonging, a connection to something larger than herself. It was a reminder that even in the midst of hardship, there was community, there was humanity. As the night fell, they found a place to rest, a sheltered spot on the edge of the village. It was a place of safety, of quiet reflection, where they could gather their strength for the journey ahead. The stars emerged one by one, a celestial tapestry that stretched across the sky. Marion lay back, her gaze fixed on the heavens, and let the night wrap around her like a cloak. In the quiet of the night, she found peace, a reminder that the journey was as important as the destination. It was a journey of discovery, of adventure, of life itself. And as she drifted into slumber, she knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with courage and hope, her heart open to the world and all its wonders. The night was a deep velvet embrace, the kind that whispered secrets and cradled dreams. As Marion lay upon the cool earth, the rhythmic symphony of crickets filled the air, a gentle lullaby that serenaded her into the embrace of sleep. The ground beneath her was firm, yet it provided a strange comfort, a grounding sensation that seemed to root her to the world while her mind floated among the stars. Each breath was a slow, deliberate act, drawing in the crisp night air, laden with the scent of damp earth and distant wood smoke. It was a perfume of the wild, an aroma that spoke of freedom and the untamed spirit of the land. Marion's senses were alive, each one heightened in the darkness, painting a vivid tapestry of her surroundings even with her eyes closed. The village lay quiet now, the day's hustle and bustle replaced by the gentle hush of night. It was a time of rest for most, yet for some, like Marion, it was a time of reflection and preparation. Her journey was not over, it was only just beginning. There were miles to tread, stories to uncover, and hidden paths to explore. As her consciousness ebbed and flowed between the realms of wakefulness and dreams, Marion was suddenly aware of a soft rustling nearby. Her heart quickened, a natural response honed through years of survival. She remained still, her ears straining to catch any hint of danger. But the sound was not one of malice. It was gentle, almost cautious, like the whisper of leaves in a gentle breeze. Opening her eyes, she was greeted by the sight of a small fox, its fur glowing silver in the moonlight. It stood at the edge of the clearing, watching her with eyes that gleamed with curiosity. Marion held her breath, caught in the spell of this nocturnal visitor. The fox, a creature of the night, seemed to embody the spirit of the journey she was on, elusive, wild, yet undeniably present. In that moment, a connection sparked between them, a shared understanding of the night's mysteries. The fox, sensing no threat, turned and slinked back into the shadows, leaving Marian with a sense of wonder and a renewed resolve. She was not alone. The night was filled with companions, seen and unseen, guiding her on her path. With the fox's departure, Marian's eyes grew heavy once more, and she slipped back into the embrace of dreams. Her mind wandered through fields of golden wheat, danced with the flickering shadows of a forest, and soared with the wings of a hawk against the backdrop of a vast, endless sky. But the tranquility of the night was not to last. A sudden chill crept in, a foreboding presence that pricked at the edges of her awareness. The air grew heavy, laden with the ominous weight of an approaching storm. Marian stirred, her instincts roused by the shifting atmosphere. The first rumble of thunder was a distant growl, a herald of the tempest that roiled on the horizon. Marian sat up, her senses alert and attuned to the changing mood of the night. The stars, once brilliant and clear, were now obscured by dark, roiling clouds that blotted out the sky. She gathered her belongings quickly, her movements swift and practiced. The sheltered spot that had seemed so safe and comforting was now exposed to the elements, vulnerable to the whims of nature. Marian needed to find better cover, a place where she could weather the storm that was fast approaching. With her bundle secured, she moved with purpose, her feet navigating the familiar paths of the village's outskirts. The wind picked up, tugging at her cloak and whipping her hair into a wild dance. Leaves skittered across the ground, chased by the invisible hands of the gale. Marian's heart pounded with the thrill of the moment, the urgency of survival mingling with the exhilaration of the chase. She was not afraid, she was alive, every sense honed and sharp. The village around her was a labyrinth of shadows and shapes, each corner holding the promise of shelter or the threat of exposure. She headed toward the old mill, a structure long abandoned, yet still standing defiantly against the ravages of time and weather. Its sturdy walls and intact roof offered the promise of refuge from the storm. The journey there was fraught with challenges, the path slick with the first drops of rain, the wind a relentless adversary that sought to drive her back. But Marian pushed forward, her determination unwavering. The mill loomed ahead, a silhouette against the turbulent sky, its broken windows like empty eyes watching her approach. She reached the door, pushing it open with a creak that seemed to echo through the night. Inside, the air was musty and filled with the scent of old wood and dust. It was a place forgotten by the world, yet it held an undeniable charm, a testament to the resilience of structures that had weathered countless storms. Marian set her belongings down, taking a moment to catch her breath and listen to the symphony of the storm outside. The rain beat a relentless rhythm against the roof, a percussive dance that matched the beating of her heart. Thunder rolled, a deep, resonant sound that spoke of power and fury. Yet within the walls of the mill, there was a sense of safety, a cocoon of calm amidst the chaos. Marian settled in, wrapping her cloak tightly around her shoulders, and let the storm rage outside. It was a reminder of the forces of nature, of the unpredictability of the journey she was on. But it was also a reminder of her own strength, her ability to face whatever came her way with courage and resilience. As the storm continued its symphony, Marian's thoughts drifted to the path ahead. The journey was still unfolding, each step a promise of discovery and adventure. She was a wanderer, a seeker of truths both hidden and revealed. And though the road was long and fraught with challenges, she embraced it willingly, her spirit unbroken and her heart open to the wonders of the world. In the quiet of the mill, with the storm as her companion, Marian found a moment of clarity. She was not just surviving, she was living, experiencing the world in all its beauty and complexity. It was a journey of transformation, of becoming, and she was ready to face it with every fiber of her being. As the night wore on, the storm began to wane, its fury spent, leaving the world washed clean and renewed. The rain tapered off, and the clouds parted, revealing the stars once more, their light a gentle balm to the weary soul. Marian lay back, her eyes tracing the constellations, and felt a profound sense of peace. She was part of something larger, a thread in the intricate tapestry of life. And as sleep claimed her once more, she knew that whatever the future held, she would meet it with open arms, ready to embrace the journey that lay ahead. In the tender hours of dawn, when the world lay in a delicate silence, Marian awoke to the soft whisper of them through the trees, carrying with it the scent of wet earth and the promise of a new beginning. She sat up slowly, her body cocooned in the warmth of the cloak she had found, her mind still adrift in the comforting embrace of dreams. The storm had left a serene calm in its wake, and the world seemed reborn, every leaf and blade of grass glistening with droplets that sparkled like diamonds under the emerging sun. Marian stretched, feeling the satisfying pull of her muscles as she scanned her surroundings. The mill, though old and abandoned, had provided her with shelter from the tempest, and she was grateful for its sturdy walls that had kept the wind's chill at bay. Her thoughts drifted to the road ahead, and the challenges she knew it would inevitably bring, but she felt a renewed strength coursing through her, an indefatigable optimism that she clung to like a talisman. Gathering her few belongings, Marian stepped out into the morning light, her feet finding purchase on the path that wound through the tall grass, still heavy with the night's rain. The village lay behind her, its memories a tapestry of encounters and fleeting connections. She had come to know its streets, its shadows, and the kindness of strangers who had extended a hand in her time of need. Yet, as much as she had found a semblance of comfort there, the call of the unknown was a siren's song she could not resist. As she walked, the landscape unfolded before her in a patchwork of fields and meadows, the horizon stretching out like an endless promise. The air was crisp and invigorating, filled with the songs of birds greeting the dawn. Marian felt alive in a way she had never experienced before, every sense heightened, every breath a reminder of her freedom. But the journey of a beggar in medieval Europe was never without peril. As the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in hues of gold and azure, Marian knew she would need to remain vigilant. The roads were often patrolled by guards who saw vagrants as little more than a nuisance, and the threat of being caught and punished loomed like a dark cloud over her newfound joy. Yet, Marian had learned to navigate this world with a cunning born of necessity. She kept to the edges of the road, her footsteps silent, her presence a shadow flitting between the trees. She had become adept at reading the signs of the land, the subtle shifts in the air that spoke of approaching danger. In a world where survival was a daily battle, she had honed her instincts to a fine edge, trusting in her ability to outwit those who would see her as an easy target. As the day wore on, Marian's thoughts turned to the villages she might encounter, each one a potential haven or a trap. She had heard tales of places where beggars were welcomed, given food and shelter in exchange for stories or simple tasks, and others where they were driven away with stones and curses. It was a gamble, but one she was willing to take, knowing that each step brought her closer to understanding this vast, unpredictable world. The sun was beginning its descent when Marian spotted smoke curling above the treetops, a sure sign of a settlement nearby. Her heart quickened with anticipation and trepidation. She approached cautiously, her eyes scanning the fields for any sign of life. As she crested a small hill, the village came into view, a cluster of stone and thatched cottages nestled along a winding stream. Marian paused, taking in the scene. Children played near the water's edge, their laughter a sweet melody carried on the breeze. Women tended to their chores, their movements rhythmic and purposeful, while men worked in the fields, the steady thud of their tools a testament to the day's labor. It was a picture of pastoral harmony, and for a moment, Marian allowed herself to imagine being a part of it, her days filled with the simple joys of community and kinship. Yet, she knew better than to rush in unannounced. Instead, she skirted the edges of the village, observing, listening, searching for signs of welcome or warning. The villagers seemed content, their faces open and unguarded, and Marian decided to chance an encounter. She approached slowly, her posture humble, her eyes cast down to show respect. It was an art, this delicate dance of introductions, and Marian had become a master at it. Her arrival did not go unnoticed, and soon a group of curious children gathered at a respectful distance, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. "Who are you?" a brave boy called out, stepping forward, his voice carrying across the open space. Marian smiled gently, her voice soft and melodic as she replied, "I am a traveler, seeking only a place to rest and perhaps a bit of kindness." The boy's mother appeared then, wiping her hands on her apron as she approached, her eyes appraising yet not unkind. "We don't often see travelers this way," she said, her tone cautious but not dismissive. "I mean no harm, only to share stories if you wish or lend a hand where it's needed," Marian offered, her sincerity shining through. The woman studied her for a moment longer, then nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. "We could use an extra pair of hands with the harvest, if you're willing." Grateful for the opportunity, Marian agreed, and soon found herself welcomed into the fold, the villagers' initial wariness giving way to the warmth of shared labor and laughter. As she worked alongside them, her heart swelled with a sense of belonging, a feeling she had not known since she first set out on this path. Yet, even as she reveled in the camaraderie, a shadow lingered on the edges of her consciousness, a reminder of the precariousness of her existence. She had learned that peace was often fleeting, that danger could strike when least expected, and she remained vigilant, her senses attuned to the rhythms of the village and the world beyond. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, Marian sat by the fire with her newfound companions, sharing stories and laughter as the stars began to twinkle overhead. She felt at once a part of something larger and beautifully transient, like the songs they sang that night, echoing into the dark, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who lived on the fringes. And as she lay down to sleep beneath the vast sky, Marian knew that whatever trials awaited her on the morrow, she would face them with courage and grace, her heart a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed indifferent. For she had learned that the journey was not just about survival, but about living fully, embracing each moment with open arms and an open heart. In the quiet embrace of the night, Marian drifted into dreams that carried her far and wide, a tapestry of adventures yet to come, woven with the threads of her own resilience and the kindness of strangers. And though the path was uncertain, she felt confident in the knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be, a wanderer in a vast, wondrous world. The gentle embrace of sleep wrapped around Marian like a warm, comforting blanket, her dreams a kaleidoscope of colors and possibilities dancing just beyond the horizon of her consciousness. In that serene state, she glimpsed the faces of those she had met along her journey, each encounter a brushstroke on the canvas of her life, painting a picture of unexpected beauty and connection. As dawn's first light painted the sky with soft hues of pink and gold, Marian awoke with the quiet realization that every step she had taken, every challenge faced, had led her to this moment of clarity and peace. The whispers of the night, the stories shared under the starlit sky, had settled in her heart like cherished treasures, each one a reminder of the indomitable spirit that resided within her. Rising with the sun, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, her soul alight with the promise of new beginnings. The world stretched out before her, a vast tapestry of uncharted paths and hidden wonders, waiting to be discovered. And as she took her first steps into the day, she carried with her the quiet wisdom that had blossomed within, a deep understanding that life was not simply a series of destinations but a journey filled with moments to savor, lessons to learn, and love to share. With a heart full of gratitude and eyes wide with wonder, Marian embraced the journey ahead, knowing that wherever it led, she would walk it with courage, kindness, and the unwavering belief that every day was a gift, a chance to write her own story in the pages of the world. And so, the echo of her laughter mingled with the morning breeze, a soft melody that danced through the trees, carrying with it the promise of everything yet to be. As Marian ventured forth, the landscape around her seemed to mirror the transformation within. The once muted hues of dawn now burst into vibrant colors, painting the world with a palette of possibilities. Birds sang a chorus of encouragement, their melodies weaving through the air like threads of golden sunlight. The path she chose was both familiar and novel, each step an affirmation of the life she had reclaimed, the destiny she was crafting with every breath. In the quiet moments of her journey, when the world paused in reverent silence, Marian found solace in the rhythm of nature. The whispering leaves and rustling grasses spoke ancient truths, reminding her that she was part of something much larger, a continuum of stories that stretched across time. And in those tender intervals, she listened, not just to the world around her, but to the beating of her own heart, strong and steady, a testament to her resilience. As the day waned and the sky blushed with the hues of evening, Marian settled beside a gentle stream. The water flowed with a serenity that mirrored her own newfound peace. Here, under the canopy of twilight, she reflected on the journey, the fears she had conquered, the dreams she had dared to dream, and the love she had found in the unlikeliest of places. The stars began to twinkle, each one a distant beacon of hope and wonder. Marian lifted her gaze to the heavens, feeling the embrace of the universe around her. In that vast expanse, she saw not just the future, but the endless possibilities of the present. With a smile that held the promise of countless tomorrows, she whispered a silent vow to herself, a promise to live fully, to love deeply, and to embrace every moment as the extraordinary gift it was. And so, as the night wrapped the world in its gentle embrace, Marian closed her eyes, her heart brimming with gratitude. She slept under the watchful stars, dreaming of the journey yet to unfold, ready to greet the dawn with an open heart and an unyielding spirit. Thus, her story continued, a timeless melody harmonizing with the symphony of life, a testament to the beauty of the human spirit and the endless possibilities that lay in every new beginning. In the quiet of the night, the world seemed to hold its breath, cradling Marian in a cocoon of serenity. The gentle rustle of leaves whispered secrets of the earth, while the cool breeze carried the soft lullaby of distant waves crashing against the shore. It was as if the universe itself had conspired to weave a tapestry of peace around her, marking the end of one chapter and the dawn of another. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of rose and gold, Marian awoke to a world reborn. The air was crisp with the scent of new beginnings, and she felt a profound sense of renewal coursing through her veins. She stood, stretching her arms toward the awakening sun, feeling its warmth infuse her with a quiet strength. Her journey was far from over, and she knew that the road ahead would be filled with both challenges and triumphs. Yet, there was comfort in the knowledge that she would face it all with a heart emboldened by love and dreams that reached beyond the stars. Every step she would take was a testament to her resilience, a dance with destiny that she embraced with open arms. As Marian set forth, The world around her seemed to whisper a gentle reminder. Life, in all its complexity, is a wondrous adventure. Every moment is a note in the grand symphony of existence, and every soul a vital part of its eternal melody. With each breath, Marian added her unique song to this universal chorus, a harmonious blend of past, present, and future. And so, with eyes bright with hope and a spirit unbound, Marian walked into the new day, ready to weave her story into the fabric of time, knowing that in the grand tapestry of life, her dreams would forever light the path forward. As she moved forward, the horizon seemed to stretch infinitely, painted with hues of promise and possibility. Each sunrise greeted her with a fresh canvas, and the twilight wrapped her in its gentle embrace, reminding her of the cyclical beauty of beginnings and endings. The world was vast, yet intimately familiar, as if it had been waiting for her all along. Marian's heart was a compass, guiding her through uncharted territories, both within and beyond. The whispers of the wind carried tales of those who had walked similar paths, their stories intertwining with hers in a timeless dance. She felt their presence, a lineage of dreamers and seekers whose courage and wisdom echoed in her footsteps. In moments of solitude, beneath starlit skies, she found solace in the constellations, each star a beacon of inspiration. They reminded her that her journey was part of something greater, a cosmic narrative that connected all living things. With this understanding, she embraced the unknown, her fears transmuted into fuel for her quest. As the seasons turned, Marian's journey unfolded like a river, meandering through landscapes of growth and transformation. She met kindred spirits along the way, each encounter a thread in the intricate weave of her adventures. Together, they shared laughter and tears, dreams and doubts, each connection a testament to the power of human resilience and love. Eventually, Marian arrived at a place not marked on any map, a realm where the line between reality and dreams blurred. Here, she paused, reflecting on the chapters she had lived and the ones yet unwritten. She understood now that the journey itself was the destination, a lifelong exploration of self and world. With a heart full of gratitude and eyes that had learned to see the magic in the mundane, Marian continued onward. Her story, like a river, flowed into the vast ocean of life, a legacy of hope and courage that would ripple through time. And as she ventured into the horizon, she knew that the journey would always call her back to the ever-evolving dance of life, where every step was a testament to the beauty of the human spirit. And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Marian took a deep breath and embraced the moment. The air was filled with the soft whispers of the evening breeze, each note a reminder of the countless melodies she had heard and shared. She felt the gentle tug of the world urging her forward, an invitation to continue exploring, dreaming, and discovering. With every step she took, the memories of her journey danced around her, vivid and alive. The laughter of companions, the wisdom of strangers, the quiet strength she had found within herself, all these became the stars in her sky, guiding her through the dark and light alike. Marian knew that life would always be a tapestry of beginnings and endings, of stories intertwined. She understood that the end of one chapter was but the prologue to another, each filled with its own magic and mystery. Her heart swelled with the knowledge that she was part of something eternal, a narrative that transcended time and space. As she walked on, Marian whispered a silent promise to herself, to always listen to the call of adventure, to remain open to the wonders of the world, and to cherish the ever-present beauty in the ordinary. She was a wanderer of both land and soul, an eternal seeker of truth and love. And thus, Marian's journey continued, an endless voyage through the realms of possibility, her spirit forever dancing with the winds of destiny. And in that dance, she found not only herself but the world. A constant reminder that every ending is merely a new beginning, and every path leads home.